Hey guys, and welcome back to Harry's Herpetological Adventure. I've just returned back from the first ever From the Darkness into the Light conference hosted at Drayton Manor by both Advancing Herpetological Husbandry and the BHS, British Herpetological Society. We're going to be looking through some of the talks and workshops that were given over the two-day event, because some of you guys, obviously AHH members and generally my subscribers, weren't able to make the event. In this episode, we're going to be watching Muryn's workshop on how to heat your reptile vivariums.
I'm going to talk about light and heating. And really the start of this is I had some turtles at the end of hibernation. Each year some of them really got quite sickly because Britain's not very good at spring, and when they come out of the water in the spring, it always takes longer in the UK spring than it does in America, and they always get eye problems or a bit of fungus or something, and it's always taken me ages to get them over that stage and being fit for getting on with being turtles. I tried all sorts of lamps and UV, etc., but none of them really worked. And then I put a couple out in the dome. I've got a sort of a dome with plenty of sunlight, and almost instantly they became animated and well, despite me giving the best light that I could. And I couldn't work out why that was. What a sunlight got that I wasn't providing. And I've got lamps, this kind and that kind, and I do lighting with Fran, and we always ask each other questions. And I couldn't see what I was missing. And so I've been thinking about this problem for a while, and I thought we'd kind of share where I'm at. So this is a discussion. It's not just me talking. It's you guys asking questions. And in addition, there's going to be some physics, and I'm sorry about that, but it's really quite important, because physics is what makes this lot tick. We know that big yellow thing up there pushes out about a kilowatt of power for every square metre that we have over here. That's a huge amount. If the clouds are there, it doesn't do it, and if the sun's the other side, it don't. But when it's shining at midday, it's about a kilowatt. So that's an awful lot of energy that hits the dirt. Out of that energy, 7% here is UV, the stuff that Fran talked about. 7% of all the energy that hits the dirt in the world is ultraviolet. Some 44% is the stuff that we see with our eyes, whether we've got 2 cones or 3 cones or 4 cones. We see about 44%, and the rest, 37, and then there's a 12% over here somewhere, is infrared. Now we know, because of this girl's work, how important UV is. Dead important for bones and all the stuff that we know need to be fixed. But we've got to give credit to how important this is for health. Really important. But we just see it as light. Oh, we can see it. We don't, as keepers, not really given much thought to what kind of light. We saw pictures here by Francis measuring temperatures of his setup. What he's doing is measuring the temperature in the vivarium in that spot. He's not measuring the quality of light. He's measuring the secondary effects of light. We know with Fran that the light that we measure with her meters, we're actually measuring the light that comes and hits us. It's from there that we're measuring it. With the infrared thingies that I'll show you in a minute, what we're measuring is the effect of the light on the rock. And I think the dialogue I'd like to get with you is to think about, shouldn't we be thinking about the light that's hitting the animal and recognise that there might be a secondary effect, which is heating? sunbathing. We've all done it on the beach, stretched out, got really nice and warm. You can feel the sun entering you. You can feel that goodness. And then when we get up, the sun is bloody hot. You can't stand on it. And yet somehow we've survived by sitting in it. But what we're saying is that if the basking spot the rock's on is so hot we can't touch it, then it's too hot for basking. Well, how does that work for lizards when it doesn't work for humans? Let's just like different bits of thought here. Put that on the side, what I've just said, and think about another. We know from medicine, and there are papers around, and I'm not going to dwell upon that, but we know from medical science that there are particular wavelengths that are healing. And those wavelengths, and there are papers and there's some references maybe in the back you can track, those frequencies start off around this brown bit here, 700 to 900. And we know in those frequencies that if those frequencies are applied to a wound or some other ailment that the body has, those frequencies actually help in getting the wound to get better more quickly than it would normally. I've spoken to the producers of heating lamps for medical purposes, to speak to you, Fran, and the lamps that they use, say, at London Zoo. And what their design process is to design their lamp so that the central peak of the curve of the light output is about 800 nanometers. Oh hell, who knows about nanometers? I mean, you read them on the lamps, but who knows about nanometers? It's science, isn't it? It's nanometers talk about the wavelengths, and the shorter the wavelengths, the less energy it has, but the brighter it is. So, stop it. Stop. It is me, isn't it? Bloody right.
Oh, I get it, do I?
No, just leave it alone.
Okay.
So what happens when an object is really cold, its energy level is way down here, and as it heats up, that energy level goes up and up and up and up, and there's a point at the energy level where it starts producing light, and this is where we're at, because they talked about the Kelvin temperature. You've seen the Kelvin, it's on every box now that sells lights, 2600, 500 or whatever. That's what it refers to, the Kelvin temperature. So, there's a couple of boxes I'll throw around. There's two. And there's a couple of bits of information on these boxes that is really quite useful. Because depending on the Kelvin temperature, you can tell what kind of light wavelength it is. And what we're looking for is something around here. If it's over here, it's UV. Francis has already told us that. And it's over here, it's infrared. So I started thinking, well, what if I give my turtles, or try and give them, an approximation of the same wavelength that the sun does? Sometimes in nature there's bloody coincidences and you can't work out why, except that's what nature does. And so it is with physics. I found that if you look at the curves of a tungsten lamp, the basic cheapos like you buy from B&Q, its curve is like that. Now, you talk about tungsten lamp, you talk about halogen lamps, you talk about incandescent lamps. All these lamps are incandescent because they produce light through incandescence of a little coil. It's meters and meters of thin wire. Nowadays, it's tungsten. It is chosen to operate at a given temperature, and its length is chosen to produce a particular heat, and therefore light, at that temperature. And so the designers can tune the operating temperature of the filament to give you the light that you want. And you talk about a white light or a yellow light, and I'll show you that in a minute. But when you talk about red light, yellow light, the curve is more this way, and if it becomes bluer, the shape of the curve is this way. So what I was looking for is a lamp with a curve that has a peak around that design, 800 nanometers, which means if I'm using a heat lamp, the rays from that lamp, which is what I'm after, not the temperature, the rays, which are then, I'll talk to you that in a minute, which then are entering the body of the animal, are exactly what we're looking for. We're not looking to get the animal hot, we're looking for the animal to be irradiated with the rays of the right wavelength. So then I realised that tungsten is actually perfect. The curves fits there. Produces some light here, but the peak is right where I want it. So okay, so we can now put a tungsten lamp that fits this, but between here and here, where there's a lot of energy that is used, which is produced in the sun, we're not really thinking about how to put a light in. We don't care what colour it is. I think what I'd like to explore with you is I think it is important. And what I'm choosing now, and you can now get technology, LEDs, which can produce lamps that work in these wavelengths. So what you can do now, which is what I've got over there, is you can have a UV tube of the best kind that you can get and put that over here, a little T5. You can get a couple of LEDs whose temperature performance you know and put them here. And then you can get something like a tungsten which produces the wavelengths that we're looking for to fit here. Now you're getting close to what the sun produces. I'll go back again. All the energy that hits any of the targets there, whether it's light or whether it's infrared, gets absorbed and then re-radiated. So if you go herping in Arizona at 9 o'clock in the evening, everything is beautifully warm, 30 or 40 degrees. What that's doing is it's taken all the radiation in the day, including the light as well as the infrared, stored it, and does Boyle's second law, conservation of energy and all that stuff, well it's got to give it up, because now that's warmer than the air and it's re-radiating all that energy that is stored in the day, and that's what the animals like, because then it's not used then for healing, it's used for increasing metabolism. Are we with us so far? Okay? Now in your handout, I've also got a picture of a bit of skin, and you will see that the wavelengths that actually penetrate skin, we know they penetrate skin because medical science tells us, there's been loads of experiments, up to 5 millimeters penetration at that wavelength. And when an animal is basking, it's not just basking to gain heat, it's also taking in other wavelengths that penetrate. Okay, so how do you find the best tungsten lamp? How do you do that? Well, I had a light bulb moment. Speaking, we talk, and sometimes when we talk, we have light bulb moments. Shit, that's obvious, isn't it? Why didn't anybody think about it? They produce tungsten lamps, don't they? For light. We screw it on, all of these are tungsten lamps, and they produce light. Then I thought to myself, what if I wanted not to use a lamp for light, but use a lamp for heat? Well, there's a way of finding out which of the lamps are best producing heat. There's lumens on every single modern packet. They write down how many lumens there are. And if I know the watts, I can divide the lumens produced by the watts and give me lumens per watt. And it struck me that the least efficient light bulb would be the most efficient heat bulb for using in our terrariums. And so when I was speaking to the guy that makes these medical lamps, I just mentioned off chance, do you ever look at the efficiency of these lamps and what the lumen trade-off is against watts? Oh yes, he says, that's quite important. We design our lamps to produce about 4 or 5 lumens per watt. Which means what their heat lamps are, is they're operating in this range, but this end of the curve, ha! Here's my pen. This end of the curve does something like this. So you can see it glowing red, which is what heat lamps do. You check out on a proper professionally made heat lamps for heating, they will still glow red. They're not actually dull, there's still a little bit of redness to them, you can see them, but it's depending on the lamp design, you can still see that redness, which is part of what we want, part of the wavelength we want. And so the redness, so the lamp curve like that, but it peaks all of its energy in that area there, which is what we want. That's the wavelength we want to irradiate our animals. The fact that it heats a rock underneath, and then that rock re-radiates the heat, is secondary. Yeah? Make sense so far?
Yeah.
Any questions so far?
For the diurnal animals, anyway.
Sorry?
For the diurnal animals, anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect sense.
I don't know what else I was going to say. Oh, I'm going to play with that. Let's play with that. Because what I'm doing is I'm actually, I hope, making you think about the light we use in a slightly different way. You know, you're not using these lamps to produce heat. You're using these lamps to produce wavelengths that are physiologically important for the animal's well-being. Not heat, wavelengths. And there's this third eye. I've not even touched upon that, for heaven's sake. You all know about the third eye, the brutal eye, right? Yeah? Well, that eye is triggered by brightness. And when it triggers there, it also triggers shed loads of other stuff in the body that picks up all the other wavelengths and starts using them. The same as it does with the UV. I've looked for papers, I've got some papers, but when people write papers, they're writing them to get a degree or to do a PhD. They're not writing them for you and me, keepers. You've got to read through shed loads of complicated stuff, that some of which I know I don't understand, and try and make sense, well, is that valid or not? And right now, I quite haven't in my head pieced some of the evidences. And if you can add to that and let me know, I'd be really grateful. Back to there. Products coming up on the market where the design of the lamp has taken some of what I've said into consideration. I know they've been tested, and what I've seen of them, you need to think about it. I don't want to say, be improper for me to say, but look out for them. The other thing is, if you've got a bright lamp and you've got a heating dimmer, you remember the curve that goes up there when it's really white and then it drops off? If you put a heater dimmer on and you trim down the heat produced by the lamp, you're shifting its Kelvin temperature, which means the peak moves to the right. So if you've shifted that temperature of that light bulb, if it's a tungsten one, so that it's just glowing red, the chances are that the peak to the left of it, to the right of it, is actually a better shaped curve for irradiating your animal with infrared. Okay? Let's start at the back end. When I first joined AHH, there was a hell of a yap about heat mats. Oh no, you can't have them, they're dangerous, whatever. What heat mats do, or can do, is provide a source of heat connected to something else that just re-radiates an energy level, which could be equivalent to a bit of road. Now, just out of interest, I use these a lot. My lizards love them. This is a heat mat sandwiched between here. I've got a hole in the back that I can put the thermostat sensor in. I have these in my dome, and my lizards love them. If I go in the dome, if I want to see where they are, I look on this first, because it's only running at 30.
What is it sandwich?
Huh?
What is it sandwich?
This is a tile, and this is sand mixed with PVA glue, which I've painted to make it look pretty, which is what that is. Leave that alone now. So this is the UV thing. It's quite like these. This is an Arcadia T5 little widget. Do you know what this is called? Whatever it is that he said, this is it. I like it. It works really well. And if I had a UV meter that hadn't been filched, it produces great UV. Certainly good enough for what I use there. It's plenty for me. So the next thing is, how do I produce, I'll show you this. Sorry, it's going to be a bit bright. How do I produce the rest of the wavelengths? And that's what I do. Look. It's not hot. That's exactly what I want. I want all the energy produced by those light bulbs to be pointing downwards. I couldn't do that without. Don't do it. No, it's... Okay, I know it's very bright, but can you see the different colours there? You can see the yellow-red of the tungsten. That's another LED that's a low colour temperature LED. That's the most modern. These two are the same brand but two different colour temperatures. And I haven't plugged the others in because I didn't think I needed to. So what I've done is I've got, and that's 75 watts, and that's producing more usable heat than that at 100 watts. But not only is it more usable, the rays, the infrared radiation that produces, which is reflected. So this is radiated heat and not conducted heat or convected heat. A lot of this heat is convected and very drying because it's just circulating the air. This is pointing its infrared onto this lovely spot here. These two are producing energy. It's just a lower grade because it's on the left hand of the spectrum. We can now have me charge this thing up. I want a pretty assistant, you'll do.
I'm not that pretty.
Bar's pretty low.
I'll go with that. Well, I've got, now, these are good little kits. This is a thing called a Fleur 1, which I've got a friend who works with a friend when they were developing it, and I got the nod that this was being developed. And so I said I'll have one. Okay, do you want to stand over there and hold that so people can see it? No, just that end, like that.
This end.
Yeah, so, and I'll try and stand out the way. Can you see it? Oh, beautiful. Okay, so this is an infrared camera. Have I seen it upside down? Now there's the lamps, and you can see that, oh, there's an interesting thing. Infrared is a light, and what you're seeing there is the reflection of this thing. So it is light, it's not heat, they are waves of light that you can't see. So going to the base now, this is the little, back to front is difficult. You can see that corner there, which is illuminated by the tungsten lamp. Now if you look at, there, that's also illuminated by this big ugly thing, but look how hot that'll be. In fact, mine will just bail out. That's just unbearably hot, and I wouldn't have that anywhere, just a fire risk as far as I can see. But that, if you can find tungsten lamp that fits like that, doesn't use much, see, you don't, what's that say? That's 43, 45 degrees. Plenty good enough, that's beautiful. But I'm happy about that, because I know that the rays from that are within the spectrum I've been looking for. Yeah? But I also know I've got enough light here to produce that central part of energy. You know, after all, the peak of energy that comes from the sun is the visible stuff. On that graph, the peak is on the visible stuff. And you should have shed loads of lumens in the middle side, and most people don't. They put a heat lamp in and a UV lamp, and that's it. That's finito, finito. No, you've got to do all three. You've got to fill the middle stuff in, you've got the UV, and you've got to have the infrared illumination. Anybody else want to see anything?
I think, unfortunately, Ron, I think that was
Excellent.
very, very fascinating. I think lots of us got a lot from that, but we're running quite short on time, so...
I'd like to say thank you very much for watching, guys. There were some great talks at the event. I hope you do check out the Advancing Herpetological Husbandry Facebook page. The link is in the description. Otherwise, make sure to subscribe and check out the rest of this playlist for all the other talks from this event. As I said, I hope you do subscribe to check out the rest of my videos, as we've got some cool stuff coming up, especially when I get into the swing of things, because summer's coming right up. Thank you very much for watching, guys, and I'll see you on the next talk. Goodbye.